It may have been an attempt to make sure the James Bond franchise stays alive and healthy in the mind of consumer, or the biggest publisher oversight of the year. But for whatever reason, November saw the release of 2 separate James Bond games for the DS from the same developer. If you only plan on buying one James Bond game for your DS, then go ahead and grab GoldenEye. If you want an additional game that is pretty darn similar but different enough to be considered a different game, then Bloodstone is right up your alley. I really can't imagine there are too many of you, though. Bloodstone follows the exploits of James Bond as he and an attractive lady fight terrorists and get orders from Judi Dench. Obviously, there is a lot more to the actual story than that, but the details serve only to create set pieces where James Bond can do cool stuff. As with all the other Bond titles that released this year, Bloodstone has Daniel Craig on hand to provide the voice of James Bond, as well as the talents of Judi Dench to provide the voice of M. The actors treat the material about as well as you would expect them to, and the technical limitations of the DS are not doing them any favors. They sound rough and sometimes disjointed, as though every word was recorded separately and then assembled into a coherent sentence in the editing room. The game probably would have functioned just as well with text dialogue, but in the end, it's nice to hear Monsieur Krug and Mrs. Dench speaking the lines. It adds an air of high production value to a game that sometimes feels cheap and rushed. The graphics of the game do not impress. We do have certain low expectations when it comes to the DS, but Bloodstone cannot be forgiven. The animation of the characters does not help the cause either. Everybody moves with the stiffness of a posable action figure with rusted joints. Bloodstone has some visual and audio problems, but it is still a totally playable game, simply because the things that matter are in place. Bloodstone is a third-person cover shooter with elements of stealth, filled with a whole bunch of other random things to do. You will spend time in the sky, in cars, shooting from boats, playing Texas Hold'em, and even cracking safes. Variety keeps Bloodstone moving along at an interesting pace, and the shooting that breaks up the set pieces is solid and works well. The game switches back and forth between stealth sequences and run-and-gun sequences. The parts of the game where you are pulling off silent takedowns and stealthily shooting cameras end up being the most rewarding. Stealth can be incredibly rewarding, but there is a line that has to be walked that is dangerously close to the frustrating zone. Bloodstone keeps the stealth elements from becoming dull by breaking up encounters and making mistakes rarely game-ending. The run-and-gun parts of the game are not as fun, but do well to deliver the feeling of the unstoppable force of the Daniel Craig version of James Bond. The online multiplayer is limited, offering gunfights for up to 4 players across a couple of different familiar modes. There isn't much to it and really just kind of feels like an afterthought. At review time, it was difficult to get into games because so few people are playing. The game has some presentation problems, but they are not game-breaking. The graphics are not good, the animations are stilted, the audio is deplorable, but the actual playing the game part, the important part, is pretty fun. Running and shooting is intense, sneaking your way through the guarded hallways is rewarding. And when that stuff gets boring, you will find yourself behind the wheel of a car or playing some Texas Hold'em. The game stays pretty diverse throughout, and it goes a long way towards keeping it enjoyable. It's a flawed game.
there were going to be fireworks.
Honestly? Yes. Nice to see you, 007. I was worried that you wouldn't make it in time.
Well, that makes two of us.
Well done.
Thank you.
May I get you something to drink?
Yes, I'll have a bourbon, neat.
And what can I provide for the gentleman?
He'll have a vodka martini.
Good morning, 007. I know we promised you a week's holiday after Athens, but we have a situation developing that requires immediate attention. Are you free to speak?
Yes, I can talk. I'm in a hotel. I should be online in a moment. What's the situation?
How much do you know about Midhurst Laboratories?
Biotech firm, publicly traded, City of London, military contractor.
2 years ago, Midhurst Laboratories signed a contract for some mission-critical biotechnology for our defense forces. Last week, one of their senior researchers, Malcolm Tedworth, went missing from his yacht in the English Channel. At first, the Royal Navy presumed he was dead. His boat was discovered capsized after a squall off the coast. But this morning, we received a tip that he's alive and about to sell that research to a buyer in Istanbul. There'll be a jet waiting at the airport, and when you arrive in Istanbul, do whatever you have to, by any means necessary, to find out who's behind this, and make sure that research doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Bond here. I've located the courier's hideout, but there's no one... What is the password? It's my phone number. My phone number!
Thank you.
Stop!
Kill him! Let's get out of here!